So on August 11th, I had water in my basement. Woke up, came down the stairs, stepped in a big puddle of water. I would say I had probably only about an inch of water in my basement, but I have a 2,100 square foot basement and it did a ton of damage. I have a lot of flooring and all the flooring basically had to come out. And my baseboards had to come out. We had about 14 and a half inches of rain in 12 hours. And that's the most rain that's ever been recorded in Wisconsin, I think anywhere in Wisconsin. So that's a big deal. And just about nobody's sump pump could keep up. I mean, the water was probably, this high. I'm sitting, but like this high on the outside walls. And my sump pump, I have an upgraded sump pump. It did its very best to keep up, but it could not keep up. So this is my second update video. And in this update video, I want to talk about all the things that I've done so far, the next steps, and some of the new things that I found. And when you're talking about water in your basement and mold, you don't really want to find anything new. So stick around so that you can see the new thing that I found that I've been working on, putting most of my effort on, and most of today we'll be working on fixing that. So I started out by trying to save the flooring. As you guys can see around me, that didn't happen. So the first goal for me was to get rid of anything wet. So I removed as many things out of here as I could. I removed all my baseboards first, and they were soggy. And then I knew that I had to go further and probably remove flooring. I tried removing sections of flooring first, and it didn't really work out because I found lots of water underneath. If anything, it just made me more nervous about what was under the rest. So I started pulling up more flooring, and as I pulled up more flooring, I was extremely happy that I removed all the flooring because there was water in sparse locations here and there between the poly underlayment and the flooring, and that's just like a guaranteed mold situation. So I have two family members other than me that are allergic to mold. My son's throat closes up when he's exposed to mold, so I had to do everything I could to make sure that that wasn't something that happened. So I started with carpet, ripped the carpet out, which I only really had carpet on my stairs. I'll show you my stairs. And in my theater room. So here's where my stairs are. And I ripped the carpet off of those. And for any of you that have never ripped carpet off stairs before, there was probably literally 1,000 staples in those stairs. I'm not even joking. It's insane how many staples they put in stairs. And then I also had carpet in my theater room. And that's where things get interesting. So going to the theater room, I started off by, I got big theater chairs in here too. So I started off by removing all the carpet in this area right here. That wasn't the riser. Because my thought was, heck, I can save the riser carpet maybe. The riser, I was like, it's above the floor. It's probably going to be all right. And I didn't even think that at first that the riser probably had water underneath it. I kind of forgot that the riser also had fiberglass insulation in it. So I think you guys can kind of see where I'm going with that. So I'll talk about that real quick because that's the thing that I'm working on right now. So I decided, it was on my list. I made a Google Keep list of all the things I need to do. So I decided I was going to pull out one of these little outlet boxes that are for my lighting, my step lighting I call it. It's just like low voltage LED lighting. So I have it set up so I walk into the room and a motion sensor triggers, and then I have automatic ambient light I call it. So I pulled that thing out, and then I stuck my hand in there, and all I felt was water and wet insulation, fiberglass insulation. And that's just a really, really bad situation. By the time I found it, it was probably a week after this happened. And by that point, I was already seeing some mold. So that was a really, really, really scary, bad situation. So I went full on beast mode for the next 4 hours And I joke with my friends. I'm 46, and I joke with my friends because when you get to a certain age, you know, your allocation of beast mode goes down a little bit. And I joke that I think I used all of my beast mode for the entire month in 4 hours. So I beast moded my my theaterizer and removed the decking off of it, and I overdid the decking when I built this. I wouldn't say I overdid it because I'm going to do it pretty much the same way, but I had 2 layers of 3/4 inch OSB, and the first layer was glued down to the frame. So yeah, I mean, I was literally destroying the OSB just to get it off. I was cutting it in pieces. It was a total disaster. So it took me about 4 hours to demolition this thing. And after I was all done, I had to go through and actually sand this surface to get all the rest of the OSB off. And that took another couple of hours. But hey, everybody that's joining me. Good to see you. Leave me a comment if you haven't already, and I can answer your questions. Let me know if any of you have had water in your basement recently. So, yeah, so I had to sand down this whole frame and get it to a point where I thought I could apply new decking to it without having any issues with height or wobbliness or anything like that. And today my job is to put new decking on this flooring. Or sorry, new decking on the riser. So, but I wanted to make sure if I ever had water in my basement again, God forbid, that it wouldn't be that bad again. I wouldn't have to rip this riser apart. So I came up with an idea to try to minimize the risk that I would get damage to the insulation that I'm putting in here. First thing I did is I went to rock wall insulation, which doesn't really absorb water. So that's the first thing I did, and I think that will help if a little bit of water gets in there, but I still don't want the insulation sitting on the ground. So what I did was I got some landscape netting. If you guys can see this. Here, let me tilt this down a little more for you. Some landscape netting, and I laid that underneath. You can see it there. There's like a mesh that is holding the insulation off the ground. So I have probably about a 3 or 4 inch gap from the floor to the insulation. And seeing as how I only had about 1 inch of water in here, and that was like a historic rainstorm, I really don't think it's going to get that bad again. My insurance guy disagrees with me. Actually, my insurance adjuster disagrees with me. He thinks that climate is changing, and he's seeing more and more things like this. So he actually suggests that I increase my insurance on my basement and also add another sump pump well. He's like, this could very well happen again in your lifetime, even though it's a 1,000-year storm. So that's kind of scary. So once I get everything all cleaned up, my next course of action will be to try to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I have a lot of good ideas for that, and I actually would like to make a video about how to improve your sump pump system without spending too much money. If you guys are interested in that, please leave me a comment. Actually, somebody leave me a comment anyway, just to make sure comments are working. There's 40 people there. I'd love to hear from you guys. But yeah, I have good ideas to try to improve the flow of my existing sump pump system. I have a really good sump pump. I have a 1/2 horse and like an additional 1/3 horse. So I have two sump pumps in that well. But part of the issue might have been that I don't have a well on the other side of the basement. So maybe that's something I'll consider. I have a closet. Maybe I could put that stuff in. But yeah, so sump pump system needs to be improved. I have a lot of 90-degree bends in my sump pump tube that goes out of the house. I also had an expanding tube on the outside of the house that might have been slightly kinked, or it just required more pressure to allow it to expand. So I have a lot of good ideas on how to improve the flow. I even worked with ChatGPT to try and come up with a good design that wouldn't cost a lot of money. So I think I can increase the flow by at least 10 gallons per minute without spending too much money. So if you guys are interested in something like that, let me know. I think that'd be a pretty cool video. I think it'd do really well, especially right now with all the people having issues with their basement. So going back to my riser, I'm using rock wool, which doesn't absorb water. I've got a net to help keep the insulation off the ground. And then I did one other thing. So kind of before, my initial strategy was to seal this box so that it didn't affect the base. But I decided I'm going against that, and I'm gonna treat this more like a base trap. So I added some 1-inch holes in here, which also happens to be the right size for a shop vac. So if I stick my finger in here, I can feel that the insulation is actually off the ground, which is great. Because like I said before, even though I stapled my fiberglass insulation to the sides, it sagged and it was touching the ground. So this net will make sure that that doesn't happen again. And if it does happen, the water does have the ability to flow underneath this thing because it doesn't sit perfectly flush with the ground because the concrete's not that level, and just like anybody's basement. So the water can flow in and out, allowing the water to drain. And I have these holes which should allow a little bit more airflow if something were to get under there. And then lastly, I can stick my shop vac in there, put it on below, and air these things out. So I think if I were to get even 2 or 3 inches of water again, that I will be okay. Hello to anybody that's joining. I'm just going over some updates of the damage that I have in my basement after getting about 1 inch of water in here. If you guys could leave me a comment, that'd be awesome. I'd love to interact with you. So that's what's going on with the riser. So today, excuse me, today I'm planning to redeck this thing with another 2 layers of 3/4 inch OSB and construction adhesive. That's how confident I am that this isn't going to happen again. And if it does, I think my solution is hopefully fixed it so that it can handle water. You shouldn't really have to design something in your basement to be able to handle a flood, but yeah. So yeah, so that's one of the things I need to do first. That's the biggest thing I got to get done. Next, I have a lot of preparation to do for the flooring guys who are coming on the 22nd. And I was very thankful to get them that early, but it's going to be a little bit of a push for me to be ready by then. So in here, I'm going to turn off this fan because it's super loud. And here I have cabinets, and the cabinets did get wet. So they got about 1 inch of water in the bottom. So I think I talked about this before, just for some of you guys, but you can see there's some little holes underneath here. did something similar to what I did to my riser. I bored a big hole in the bottom of there to check for water, number 1. Number 2, so I could stick a shop vac in there and help dry it out with the blow function. And I let that shop vac run in there for like 1.5 hours or 2 hours for each hole, and it seemed to really dry it out well back there. And I feel fairly confident that the cabinets are savable. Cosmetically, there's a few things I got to fix. As you can see, I took the toe kick off. I ordered a new toe kick, so the toe kick will cover up those holes. You won't even know they were there, and it'll look perfect from this side. Now, however, underneath here, behind the fridges, there was a little bit of water damage along the bottom there, but number 1, thanks for all the hearts, everybody. Number 1, you don't really see those, and yeah, I'm sorry, you don't really see anything in that area. And also, I think I can repair that area pretty easily just by sanding it down, stabilizing the material with some CA glue, and then filling it with some Bondo wood filler, and then maybe just painting it black in there. I mean, it's going to be totally non-visible. Hey, for everybody that's joining me, please leave me a comment and say hi. So yeah, it should be visible, and I think I can stabilize it and fix it so it's structurally sound again and save myself a bunch of money. So that's my plan. So cabinets shouldn't be that hard to fix once I take care of the riser situation. So the riser is obviously the biggest thing. So I'm trying to aim for the low-hanging fruit first, or low-hanging fruit first, because this is an extremely overwhelming situation for me, and I don't like the feeling of being overwhelmed. So if you guys are ever in a situation where you're feeling very overwhelmed like I am right now, the best thing you can do first is to create a list. And then I like using Google Keep for lists because you can make checklists. And once you've made your checklist in Google Keep, you can drag your items that you need to do around. so you can prioritize what really needs to be done first. So for me, I have a big push right now to get all of this stuff done before the flooring guys show up. And they're also going to be installing baseboards. So I need to make sure that the walls are prepped and ready for baseboard installation as well. So floors need to be cleaned. They've already been cleaned. They need to be sanitized or sanitized. I sprayed the entire floor with mold treatment to make sure that, mold doesn't come back. I treated any areas that had any mold, which wasn't too many. I'll show you one area. Underneath my bathtub, I found some mold. And I did find mold under the theater riser, but it was mostly contained to the fiberglass insulation, which got thrown away. So I've been drying the crap out of this area. There's the one area I did find a little mold underneath my bathtub, but I treated that. The mold is dead. I had 3 dehumidifiers running down here at full bore for like 2 weeks, and my relative humidity was down to 37% down here. So I'm pretty impressed with that and proud of myself. 37% is extremely low for a basement, and that should hopefully not allow any mold to grow. Most mold doesn't want to grow below 50% relative humidity, and if you can get below 50 in like the mid 40s, not a lot of mold is going to survive. Not a lot of types of mold are going to survive in that environment. So my plan was to dry this mother out to the point where I basically starve the mold and just let anything that's still there die off. And because I only had an inch of water in my basement, most of anything above my baseboards was pretty much dry. So any insulation that I had in the exterior walls, I had mostly foam board insulation like this right here on the ground. Closed cell foam board, which actually does pretty good with moisture. So I don't have to worry about that absorbing moisture, but I did have some fiberglass insulation in a few areas around the theater room mostly, that's wall behind me. So I was worried about that as well. So what I did, so I could sleep at night and make myself feel a little bit better about it, was I drilled some little, I'm calling them portholes or inspection holes. I drilled a bunch of these little holes around the perimeter. Let me get closer. So I drilled some of these little 1-inch inspection holes around the perimeter of any areas that had fiberglass insulation. So I could literally just stick my finger in there and feel around for any moisture. And I also have a little moisture meter that I put on the wall down here and compared it to a higher spot on the wall. And for the most part, it was pretty close. So that made me feel pretty good. Actually, my insurance adjuster said that's all I needed to do. But if anybody knows me, they know that I like to overdo things. And so I wanted to make sure I felt comfortable with it and that I could go to sleep at night. So anybody that's joining me, please leave me a comment. Say hi. Tell me where you're from. Tell me if you got water in your basement. So yeah, I drilled these holes, felt around, I drilled one in between each set of studs just to make sure that there was no water or moisture and that the fiberglass insulation that was in this wall was okay. And it was. So I was extremely happy to see that. So I left those holes open for about a week just to make sure everything was aired out and got a chance to get a little bit of airflow back there. And then I filled it with some of this fire block expanding foam just to make sure I had a fire block still. And as you can see, I did this right below the baseboard line. So all this will be hidden behind the baseboard, so you won't see it. But while we're down here, the next thing I need to do to prep, if you guys can see, but there's like a million nails where the baseboards were, because typically when I pull off baseboards, it's just MDF and it was wet too. So it just sort of ripped the baseboard off the nail. So I've had to go around and remove every single one of those nails. So that's the other part that I need to handle. And the caulk line, I need to try and do my very best to clean that up a little bit. Maybe when they install the new baseboard, they can install it like a 1/16 of an inch higher to cover up some of that caulk line. I'm sure it won't be a big deal, but I take this as an opportunity to try to make it better, or at least as good as it was before. So I'm going to sand that area to try and get some of the caulk off, and then I'm going to repaint those areas just to make sure, because I have some areas where it ripped a little bit of the drywall texture off, so I may have to touch up the texture a little bit in a couple areas. But all in all, I think I have it pretty well under control for the first time, I think. I was in Michigan last week, so I feel like I'm scrambling because I didn't have a lot of time to work on it. But I think that it's going pretty well. I found, I believe, all the mold I'm going to find, I hope. I mean, I think everybody always thinks that. But I have, what's the date? I have another 22 days or so, roughly, to finish this. And during that time, I need to finish my riser, which hopefully will be today and tomorrow. I need to prep the area where the baseboards are gonna go, which hopefully won't take more than maybe a couple of days. There's a lot of work there. And then I need to repair the cabinets, which hopefully will just take a day. I did repair one other area at the bottom of my stairs where that trim was, and it turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. That was sort of like a test area. I also didn't want to remove the trim all the way around the stairs. Usually I'm a pretty thorough guy and I like to just replace things instead of repairing them, but in this case, if there's something that's large or going to be very expensive to replace and the damage is very minimal, I think it's worth trying to repair it. Oh, my doors. I have to repair doors, but this is one of those situations where that Google Keep list really comes in handy because DRXX1, hi bro, hey, how's it going? But this is one of those situations where your Google Keep list, your checklist comes in very handy because once I knew the date of my flooring, I put that in there as one of the to-dos, is to have the flooring guys install the flooring, even though I'm not doing it. And then I could think about all the steps that I had on my to-do list that needed to be done before that, and I just literally clicked and dragged them above that step so I can focus on those things. And there are some things that were not necessary but nice things, and I was able to look at those too and go, I put those all the way at the bottom because they don't really need to be done, but they're things I kind of wanted to do while I had everything ripped out. Like, for example, I thought about maybe painting the stairs with some of that Kills or something to kind of protect the floors from any future water or something like that, or just seal in the MDF stairs to kind of just make them better. But really not necessary. I probably won't do it. We'll see. Things are just really, really crazy right now. For those of you joining me or have been with me, right now, this is my only source of YouTube content, my only form of YouTube content, because every single minute that I have is used, every single minute of extra time that I have is used working on this basement. And I took a few minutes to try and give you guys an update to let you guys know I'm still alive. It's proof of life. And also to just let you know what's going on in my life right now so you guys don't abandon me and leave me. Please stick around. My YouTube channel will get back to normal hopefully after all of this chaos is done. But for now, this is my life. And I have a lot going on with work right now. Things are crazy. Frankly, it's a lot. And during this time, it's made me kind of reconsider YouTube and just made me kind of think whether or not I should continue, because it's hard. It's hard to have a full-time job, YouTube channel, other hobbies. For those of you that know or don't know, I should say I race RC cars too, and it's a very time-consuming hobby. It's a very expensive, time-consuming hobby. So I have a lot of things going on, and I have to try and pick and choose what things I can do. And it's still important to spend time with my family, and obviously my full-time job is still my number one focus outside of my family. And then this is number 2 right now, my basement. And then YouTube's probably number 3. Ideally, someday, if you guys keep supporting me like you are right now, maybe I can quit my full-time job and do this full-time and give you guys lots more content. But at the moment, YouTube Live is my opportunity to talk to you guys and interact and show you guys what's going on. I didn't really feel like some of this stuff was worth making videos on, and frankly, I just want to get it done. So it's really hard to get stuff done when you're trying to make YouTube videos, and in this case, I consider this kind of an emergency. So until my basement's back, it's really hard for me to focus on anything. I have kind of an obsessive personality. So when something like this comes up, I obsess over it until it's done. Even to the extent of like destroying my body. Like, it doesn't matter. I can't tell you like what I've done to my hands just because I was in such a hurry that I didn't bother wearing gloves. Safety first, people, even though I don't do it sometimes. I stepped on a nail, went like an inch into my foot. So yeah, I have this habit of turning the biggest crisis in my life into the absolute most important thing. So right now, this is the crisis. But I want to take a little bit of time just to talk to you guys because I haven't been on for a while. I haven't made a video in a week and a half or so, and I like to try and post once a week. And for now, it's going to be YouTube Live. I hope you guys are enjoying my live stream, and I hope I'm teaching you guys some things and helping you guys through situations that are similar, showing you a couple tricks that I found along the way that I didn't really want to have to find. And I'd love to hear like what you guys want me to do when I get back out in the shop next. I have a lot of ideas for videos. I'd like to maybe do like I guess by this point it'd be like a 5-year review on my DeWalt table saw. A lot of people join my channel. Nemo's World, hi dear. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Thanks for the comment. I see it. Hi. Yeah, I would. I'd like to maybe do a review of my table saw or just get back into some woodworking projects. I had an idea for doing a basic workbench with some plans. For those of you that don't know, I have plans on my website. My website is howidothingsdiy.com. I do charge for them, but frankly, there's a lot of cost that's involved in making YouTube videos and making those plans. I put a lot of work into those. And you know what? I'm not to a point in my YouTube career where I can just give away plans for free. Like I said, I'm trying to make this my full-time job. So it has to make money, unfortunately. That's the upside is if it's my full-time job, I can do more of this and talk to you guys more and make videos and teach you how to do woodworking and DIY projects. But I can't really do that for free, unfortunately. I have to make some money. So that's just one of my ways to make a little bit of money. But my plans are far cheaper than just about anybody else's that charges for plans out there. So go ahead and check that out. Helps support the channel, helps me continue to do this and hopefully do this permanently someday. But I really like doing these live streams. I hope you guys enjoy them too. Doug, I would rely on streaming for full-time work. That seems like a good way to end up. Oh, I wouldn't. Seems like a good way to end up homeless. Well, I don't know, Doug, because I work for a company that is a bit volatile. So, I mean, what I don't like about working for a big corporation is that I'm requiring somebody else above me, maybe even 20 levels above me, to make good decisions about my financial career. And some people might argue that YouTube is less stable, but I think that having control of my own financial situation, I think, is freedom in itself. And having a lot of revenue streams, I think, is important. My YouTube ad revenue is probably my smallest source of income. I have affiliates and I sell plans, and I would say I make more money off those than I do YouTube itself. YouTube is just sort of the platform I'm using to help build my business. Nemo's World, I'm from India. I saw your video for the first time and see you in your video. You're very handsome. I appreciate that. Thank you. I have a lot of videos for you to watch. Lots of old content. So please go back and watch all my old stuff and leave me some comments. Doug, that's a good point. You seem like a smart dude. I hope you're able to build your channel and succeed. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate that. Yeah, honestly, I was pretty skeptical about being able to turn YouTube into a full-time business too. Good luck from a stranger. Thanks, Doug. You're not a stranger. I feel like we know each other now. We're like friends. With that being said, Doug, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I love your comments, and I'd love to hear more. But yeah, I think that YouTube can be a pretty stable business as long as YouTube streaming and your videos is not your primary source of income. I think that YouTube is almost like a marketing area for me to show you the rest of my business, and there's a lot more to it. I have, like I said, I have a website, sell woodworking plans, and I'd love to make more plans for you guys. And if you guys have any ideas of things you want me to make plans of, please let me know. But yeah, so that's the update in my basement. This is what's going on in my life right now, and I'm just trying to maintain my sanity. But thank you for everybody that's joined me today. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Head over to my website, howidothingsdiy.com, and check out my woodworking plans. If you want to become a member, you can become a member. I'll put a link down below later when I update this with the thumbnail and the video description. And I'll try and give you guys another update here in maybe a week or so when my riser's done and I have the baseboard situation dialed in a little bit. And that's it. I'll show you guys the new riser hopefully in next week when I do another live stream. And thank you for joining me, and hope you guys have a great Labor Day weekend.